Basically, entrapment is when law enforcement would engage in tactics that would overcome the will of the average person and otherwise compel them to engage in criminal activity that they would normally not be predisposed to engage in. An example might be in Nevada, we see a lot of cases, specifically in Las Vegas, in Reno, where there are undercover law enforcement officers that are going out and soliciting prostitution. Now, it might be that they might engage someone in the bar of a casino who might, when initially addressed by the undercover officer, say, "No, I'm not interested," and the officer might persist. And in those situations, it could be that the actions of the law enforcement officer were so egregious, amounting to harassment, that an entrapment offense might lie. Another example of entrapment might be if an undercover operative, whether it be a law enforcement officer or someone who is acting at the behest of law enforcement, made some kind of threat to coerce somebody to engaging in a crime that they might otherwise not be inclined to commit. The test would be whether the person had some predisposition to commit the crime and whether the actions of the law enforcement officer were so out of the ordinary that they would have overcome the ability of the average person to resist committing the alleged crime. A lot of people are under the assumption that if they ask a person who approaches them that they suspect might be an undercover law enforcement officer or operative, "Are you a police officer?" And that if that person says no, then anything thereafter would be considered entrapment. That's not the law. It's a misunderstanding. It's very common in solicitation cases where we'll have a client tell us, "I asked this person who turned out to be an undercover, 'Are you a police officer?' and he said no." And a lot of times people operate under the belief that if they say no, that anything from that point on would constitute entrapment. But in fact, that's not legally considered entrapment. Law enforcement actually is allowed to do a lot of things that you wouldn't expect in furtherance of criminal investigation. Law enforcement is allowed to lie to you. In fact, they often do lie to people. It's called utilization of a ruse, where they make up a story and can coax someone through lies to act in furtherance of some kind of investigation. And it's not unlawful. It's quite common that law enforcement engages in these types of tactics. I'm attorney Michael Becker with the Las Vegas Defense Group. If you or a loved one has been charged with a criminal offense in Las Vegas or throughout the state of Nevada, trust in me and my legal team to get your case dismissed or otherwise negotiate a resolution that causes minimal harm to you in your future.